Hey everyone, great to see all of you. Today we'll talk about Open Metaverse, how to capture the future. I'm Rev, one of the co-founders and also growth lead at Atlantis World. We're building like Web3 social metaverse in 2D pixel browser-based environment where we're connecting, Web3, meaning like integrating Web3 dApps, blockchains, DAOs, NFTs with gaming in game like environment, and also we add in social elements to that: audio, video, text chats, events, gatherings, conferences, and all of that to create and enable a vibrancy of different use cases, but starting with Web3 onboarding, because Web3 onboarding is such a painful thing right now. So I want to start because that's actually a workshop, right? I thought and wanted to have more so in like group discussion as well as leading through our experience in building an open metaverse. As we've been fully bootstrapped, we've been building like as a grassroots metaverse. And when I think about open metaverse, what comes to my mind personally is like, something that's permissionless, something that's inclusive, and something that's accessible. Because for us, for the whole team of Atlantis, being open is not enough. Openness also entails in itself accessibility, because even if you build open tooling, open products, but they're not accessible for large audience, especially in Web3, right? We're by default limiting them and limiting ourselves and limiting our even values that we have in Web3 of inclusivity, right? And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your associations when you think about open metaverse. What comes to your mind? Just going through a little bit of the ecosystem right now. We have like Web3 metaverses and also Web2 metaverse, which is pixel based. So we have here Somnium Space, CryptoVoxels, Axie Infinity, and 2D pixel game from Web2, which is actually cool. And what we see here, right, the different implementations and different like dimensions and also variables of use cases that this virtual world enabling us. So if we just take as an example Somnium Space, right, it's by default, it's also open metaverse, just like others, but to access Somnium Space, you need to have a headset, right, because that's VR metaverse. Then if you go to CryptoVoxels, they tackle problem differently of accessibility by leveraging some of the settings. Like if you have a laptop that's not, let's say, gaming, you can still configure your settings of the quality to enable yourself, the okay playing experience, but still it's not something that can enable you a vast and immersive experience that you can have just by playing with a gaming laptop. So, and then we have Axie Infinity that also done an incredible, work with onboarding people, because they've been instrumental to actually enabling play to earn model, right, that we've all seen. And this is something that just started. And in the last example is something that we are seeing all of this coming together, but more so in sustainable, accessible manner that's also browser-based. And the reason for being browser-based is being kind of, in a sense, like platform agnostic and not being dependent on Google or Apple or their privacy policies or their like rules, just because we've seen so many examples when you push the new update and you call it open metaverse, right, on open like permissionless dApp, and then it got shut down by App Store just because it doesn't respect whatever their rules. And just to give you understanding of what we're building, this is a login screen of our closed alpha, Atlantis World. So you can log in, obviously, Web3 native manner. You log in by MetaMask. You see here different, clubhouses of different buildings, also chains. Sela, you see near there, Harmony. Here is the clubhouse of Forgotten Ruins, which is NFT project, a cool project, and our Carlo Web3 developer is just walking around, exploring. Within the world, you can have audio, video, text chat experience. Soon, the video actually aspect is coming soon. Right now, we have audio and text chatting. You also have obviously different kind of game elements where you can use dash, when you can use emojis, when you can do other things. You can also see the quest numbers, the FPS, and also you can actually you cannot see here, but you can use Audius, which is decentralized music streaming, and play music while you actually game. You're enjoying the game. So this is another example of showcasing the Web3 aspect, the openness of Metaverse. And here we are in Polygon lobby, then we're moving around, and now we'll go into the near Clubhouse. So this is just the kind of V1 of showcasing what we have in like open Metaverse. Imagine in the future NPC standing there and teaching you about this metaverse, about this environment, about the chain and their ecosystem, and then you can have portals to each of those chains. And right now we're actually in the Gitcoin Clubhouse. And the coolest thing about that is you can connect all of these chains, dApps, and enable a vibrant ecosystem where you can not just connect them, but let people interact. And here you see the Snapshot integration. So we actually pushed this 2 days ago. So we're the first metaverse that integrated Snapshot. So right now we call it meta governance, right? You can govern your DAOs and your project through Snapshot, and soon Aragon, DAO House, and so on is coming. And yeah, so that was just examples of the metaverse that we're building. The reason why we call it open, right, is because we actually building like everything that you saw, right? We tokenizing and airdropping back to this community. So we believe that, as you mentioned, right, ownership is the key element of that. But even more so, it's one of aspect, right? Ownership, openness, accessibility, interoperability, and yeah. And the couple of insights before I kind of turn the other way around and give a chance to you to share your insights. There is so much kind of chasing of success in Web3, right? Everyone tries to get more ownership, tokens, airdrops, etc., or even a lot of projects competing, and that's a bit sad to see. Of course, not all of them, because we're trying to build inclusive communities, inclusive virtual worlds, and also the worlds that actually enable public good. But at the end of the day, we're actually trying to do that with kind of that two mindset. And the way we position ourselves, like I'm literally, pinging and pitching to other metaverses, other gaming projects, like, hey, you're building cool things. Let's actually do something together. And, you might be 3D, you might be VR or something, but we can actually showcase what you're building inside of our metaverse, right? We can literally build that to you and airdrop it to you, so you own that. And we can help, create that, because there is no standard for, like open metaverse in a way, right? The same as there is no standard for game items across all of these dimensions, right? 3D, VR, 2D, we all create that. And right now, as we just for the first time in the lifetime of this whole ecosystem of the whole industry, we created this narrative of ownership through the blockchain ecosystem, through the blockchain technology, when you can actually own your thing, when nobody can shut it down unless they have the private keys, etc. So no administrator, no the server owner can shut down what you own. So then the important thing here is to enable these items to be transferred in between the metaverses, and these users going around all the different metaverses, virtual spaces, etc. So to me, this analogy as there's tons of restaurants out there, right? You don't just go to one. You have preferences of choices. Why wouldn't you do that in virtual world? Why wouldn't we build that virtual world in a way that it's open, it's sustainable, and it's inclusive, and it's also interoperable? And the way to do that is, to me, through like this kind of Schelling point, right? Like cross coordination and like changing behavior in a way that brings net positive results and creating this positive game. So yeah, if anyone actually, does anyone here build a metaverse or gaming project? Cool. Would you like to share some of your experience, on that path, especially in Web3 side,
Yeah, so I'm building an NFT game that allows interoperability between other NFT sets,
cool.
as well as ours, for real-time action games similar to like a mobile. And yeah, so specifically we have our own, but then we have used other communities' tokens as a way to kind of bridge the communities and give utility to like the loot ecosystem, as well as other projects that are aligned.
Interesting. Does someone wants to add anything?
So like question, like an idea, I'm biased, I'm with Atlantis, but an idea I just had was, with ownership, like let's say with Decentraland, if you own a certain wearable, it might be cool if we offer a specific, action in game because of your ownership of that existing NFT. Now, I'd be curious with like your thoughts on interoperability, if you're doing anything similar or ever thought about that kind of thing of, ownership here grants you something elsewhere as well.
Yeah, so with what I said about loot, we also have like a class in the game for loot holders, or like apes have a class in the game as well.
Nice.
So, apes have like a leaderboard that they can try and get to. So it gives people more utility than just a picture for
Yeah.
their, so,
I think this, so there's two main ways to position your communities, also the product when you're building that, right? Through curation, so you handpick your user base, or through just permissionless community building. And I think also for the same principles applies to open metaverse, because again, right, we're building it, it's happening right now. Before that, even 2-3 years ago, it was just starting out, right? Most of the metaverses that we're using today also started at that time frame. So we're still early, we're building that. And I think also curating that, product features or your community, or also for example, we're token gating some of our clubhouses, some of our buildings, or even rooms inside of those buildings. So there could be first curation and then even sub curation of that. So let's say specific people right now, they can access the alpha because it's closed. And then even beyond that, let's say if you're a member of the DAO, you can go inside of this room. So you actually then balance in between people that are wanting to have privacy, their own space, and people that just want to, hang around, meet people, and have fun. And at the same time, if we can enable that across other metaverses, so imagine, you walk inside of the crypto voxels, right? You jump into the portal, and then you're inside of Atlantis. So, and in that sense, I think the metaverse should also, it should have a purpose, right? Why are you building that in the first place, right? What's the purpose? Why should users spend their time inside of the metaverse after some time period, right? What will engage them? What will, even more so, will bring value to them in a way that that value is captured either by them or the ecosystem that actually, benefits them, be it, profit or emotional benefits, some, fulfillment, etc. And I think these are the questions that we're still kind of answering, and they're open-ended, just because if you will look at the user base of active daily user base of most of the metaverses, it's far away from the stats that Web2 gaming has. And by the way, the gaming is 3.4 billion user industry, right? It's huge. And the opportunity for onboarding those gamers into Web3 and what that can entail and enable the whole ecosystem is beyond what we can imagine. Even if we can grasp, a percentage of that, or 3% of that, it's already something that will fill a lot. I wonder if anyone has any questions in regards to what we're building, Atlantis, or how we envision, open metaverse, something from our experience. Yeah, please feel free to ask. I haven't, finished, by the way. It's just in between questions, so to end of the day, everyone's, please.
How to app in?
Oh yeah, how to app in. As I mentioned, we are grassroots project. We intentionally haven't raised any single private money. We've just been sustaining ourselves with also our community. We had a small NFT round to also bootstrap our core user base and enable them to benefit from what we're building. We have NFT, you can buy it from secondary market, but even more so, we're excited to collaborate with other projects through brands and meaningful collaborations, build for them, airdrop this, tokenize all of the building that you've seen, right? They're all will be tokenized and airdrop back to those communities. And then beyond that, you've seen some blockchains, right? Like Celo, Near, etc. So they will all have their own islands the island itself will be fully tokenized on their chain, occupied by their ecosystem members. And then we would love to summon a DAO that will govern that nation. We call them nations, right? And the stakeholders in those DAOs will be those who actually occupy that land, and perhaps Atlantis will DAO in the future. So yeah, you just make sure to engage and stay active, and you can always ape in, please.
How does the general place plan to be governed? Do you anticipate it going a little bit political in terms of taking parts of the city, right?
Yeah, it's
work or how it should not work?
It's a great question. We want to balance, those who are kind of our founding partners with those who will come in the future. And obviously our founding partners have a big say in that, just because they supported with us, they've been with us since the beginning. But at the same time, and that's to my previous point with curation, we actually created these partners. For example, there was a VC trying to give us 100K to build a VC city inside of Atlantis or building, and we're like, nah, yeah, GMI. It doesn't sound that cool, imagine we have Yearn Finance, building, Balancer, Perpetual Protocol, Gitcoin, etc., and then VC building. Doesn't make sense at this stage. Of course, in the future we can have that. So we curate, the project as we're still, more so aren't DAO based. It's about us and this project. We create those that are kind of, with the same vibes and values, and we want them to be also to have incentives so they actually own these buildings, right? And we enable them in the future. We will enable them, right, to govern, to have a say in that governance of that area, but at the same time not limiting the new users that will come and the builders and the engineers and the creators and benefit from them. And to that point, that's why we are excited about creating a quest system of onboarding, because it doesn't matter, even if you're somewhere far from away of central piece of Metaverse, you will still be part of this guiding onboarding. So imagine if someone just lands on our website on the game screen, right? They're guided to, download MetaMask, Wallet Connect, etc., use it, then come inside of Atlantis. There will be levels of, your kind of Web3 kind of OG-ness. How much are you OG? So you go there, let's say you start with Ethereum, right? You learn about the Ethereum ecosystem by actually doing that, walking inside of all of these clubhouses, building, using their dApps, DeFi, whatever, DAO, choosing your NFTs as characters, etc. And then you're also guided to other metaverses, other lands, other islands where there's other chains, right? And the process of changing, from Ethereum mainnet to, let's say, Polygon, it's just instant. It's just within the game. We gamified chain list for that, and yeah.
What would you say is the single most powerful use case of Atlantis World, and why?
Yeah, even though I'm bullish on social aspect, audio, video, text chatting, owning all of that, events, I would say that the single most powerful use case is onboarding. As I mentioned before, at least the way I see that, right? The way we learn about Web3 is confusing. There's so much stuff to learn, right? Some people go to, listen podcasts, watch YouTube videos, read about stuff, or even just, spend most of their day on crypto Twitter, which is actually a cool thing. Or even great products like Rabbit Hole, right? That they kind of learn to earn models. They're teaching you the crypto, but there's just a limit, what we can learn, right? And also there is a time period where you incentivize to learn them, and then it's gone, right? But what if we gamify the whole process of learning, what is Web3, how to use Web3, and actually understanding through the act of using that, and benefiting from that. Because one thing is to learn about Web3, but the other thing is, again, to that point of ownership. If you learn and own what you have inside of the game, right, and that's benefiting you because the ecosystem keeps on, providing benefit and value to each other, and so does your items, does your badges, does your overall involvement in the space grows. I think that's a great thing, at the end of the day, because the level of your success in Web3, obviously there's some luck element, but etc. It's also dependent on alpha, right? So-called alpha, having the right information. But what if we take that alpha and bring that to the masses? Because so far it's like crypto Twitter, it's your DAO, it's your folks, peers, etc. And that's by design. It's not right to our values that we're actually pushing, right? Inclusivity, etc. So that's what we're aiming to change. Yeah, that was actually kind of answer to that question, and that's the solution that resonated the most with me when we started building Atlantis, because Atlantis itself was like two separate projects. We merged them to enable this like onboarding and sustainability aspect, because we are right now designing a virtual forest where you will be able to plant trees, like NFT trees, and those trees will offset carbon from real world atmosphere. And there could be much more use cases than that. And the learning here is, it's important to build an open metaverse, so it's not owned by any organization but anyone in the world, because we should all own metaverse, because we all spend time in metaverse, and it's fair. Because if you know, and not just metaverse, right? Overall projects, like, and that's something that I love about Web3, because what we see as airdrops, right? It's not like, oh, cool, I got like 20K airdrop from ENS. No, like I helped ENS to be ENS as a user in their early days. I pushed that. I put, you know, my ENS as my Twitter handle, right, or my Twitter name, whatever. So I was part of their success. I contributed to that, and they're just giving back, and that's fine. That's how we should view that, because we're not just, you know, like byproducts. We're not just some like, you know, instruments for money-making machines. We're actually part of the community who makes that happen, and yeah, and having that ownership while being open and accessible and inclusive is the key. Yeah, it's not that type of workshop. So here's this QR code for POAP that you can all scan. And if you have this POAP, you will have access to our alpha, and might be something else in the future, who knows? Yeah, so you scan this POAP, you claim your, you scan this QR code, you claim your POAP, and then you can go to alpha.atlantis.world. All the links will be under the POAP. And yeah, use our alpha, share our feedback, and yeah, welcome to our Discord channel, Telegram, Twitter. Yeah, you'll find me there. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. If you have any questions, please feel free to. Yeah, the QR code is there, no worries.
How long do we get access to the alpha with this?
Yeah, till the Dev Connect. Yeah, there's more like 5-6 days. Yeah, so be sure to be quick. It's still alpha.
So how do you balance openness with scarcity, especially when, and also like scarcity with value and like with artificial scarcity?
Yeah, as I mentioned, right, we are in process of curation communities, and even like, and this is also the example, right? Our alpha is closed. It's only for either folks that we whitelist as these tokens, or our native community that owns our NFT, like found in Atlanteans. And as we grow, right, we don't want to create actually scarcity models where the value is increased by scarcity. Or like, let's say you have 3,000, 10,000 lands, everything is bought, and you know the demand for Atlantis goes up, and there's only so much, and then the value goes up. We actually want to create value by people, by the users, by our community creating that value. And what I mean by that, like we want to experiment around even existing models like land, let's say, right? Most of metaverses is just capped, right? And in most of them, it's also you cannot change it, And it's sad actually, because why would you limit your metaverse and your users to only the ones that could, be able to buy X amount of land for, a huge price in the future, and only reward your early users? So we experiment around these models of, kind of creating infinite games in a way that, okay, we grow with our user base, right? We grow with our community. And once we achieve a certain threshold where we all agree, okay, as a DAO, there's not much room for, everyone, let's just make the map bigger, or let's add these features. And to me, it goes hand in hand with community, like having constant loops of feedback, asking your community. Just recently we did another, community feedback, and that was even incredible for us to see that, because sometimes as a, as team that builds a product, you think that everything is cool. It might be cool. You might know where you kind of suck at, but at the same time, you will never know full picture unless you actually go out there and ask people who use that. And when you do, you'll be amazed by how much insight you can collect from that. And building open metaverse is about being open, right? And being open is also about being authentic and vulnerable, showing that, hey, we're not best, we're here experimenting because this is such a new thing. We're all here on that path, but we care, and that's why we ask your opinion, because we want to build not just for us, we're building for everyone. And we want to build together. And at the same time, we don't want, like 3, 5, 10 years from now, it won't be about Rev or Atlantis team, it will be about us, because even now, right, we are still exploring with this community user ownership with tokenizing and airdropping buildings, etc. In the future, we'll airdrop cities and islands, and we'll see what will happen. So yeah, for us, it's just constant stream of experiments.